Now I invite Her Excellency Ms. Nicola, Vice President, European Parliament, for her keynote address.
Yes. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, esteemed colleagues. I also want to begin by thanking our Indian host for their intense and successful work in organizing our summit and for bringing us to this spectacular land of fame, Yashabhumi. I am certain it will inspire us to build our own consensus. Our focus in this session, Agenda 2030, is also a project that brings together people and places, policymakers and parliaments from across the globe. But our project is far from complete. Progress on the Agenda Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, has even been uneven. Only a minority of our targets are on track. Nearly a third have stalled or even reversed. At this rate, we will leave many behind. Why? Well, in a part, we have faced blockages that we did not anticipate in 2015. We have also learned lessons along the bumpy road. First, we faced the COVID-19 pandemic, which we claimed some 7 million lives and dramatically impacted economy development. For the first time in decades, global poverty and inequality rose. This underlined the importance of coordinating on warning systems and vaccines. It became clear just how much SDGs on good health and well-being, so the number 3, mattered for the first and most fundamental of our goals, eliminating poverty. Then, Russia's war against Ukraine compounded the global crisis. And this war goes far beyond Ukraine's sovereign territory, where the Ukrainians fight bravely and unweary for freedom and the international rule-based order. This war impacts our citizens all over the world. On the African continent, Russia's invasion created a 30 million ton shortage of grain, as well as a peak in prices. The effects are not limited to Africa. In 4 or 5 countries across the globe, including my own, Germany, food prices are still increasing more steeply than other prices. Every time Russia bombs a grain silo or a cargo ship in Odessa, our people from Celaya in Mexico to Surabaya in Indonesia pay the price. Hamas' recent terrorist attacks against citizens in Israel has shocked the world. It is an expression of unimaginable hatred and violence that terrorists commit against innocent people. It shakes the core of our humanity, our sense of security, our sense of trust, and our sense of being there for our beloved ones and for one another. At the same time, it is clear that Hamas has supporters, including governments. We must stand together and stop all forms of political and financial support for terrorism. These bitter lessons remind us that the impact of war, armed conflict, and terrorism in one place can stretch across the globe. At the same time, we can also learn from our successes. Our hosts have asked us to consider the SDGs achievements, and I want to do just that. Not just to give ourselves a pat on the back, something we as politicians doesn't receive every day, but to see why we have succeeded when we have. In fact, many of the SDGs are advancing. They depend on creating and improving national policies. They depend, in other words, on parliaments, on us. For example, Target 12.1 tracks countries' policy instruments to encourage sustainable consumption and production. This has improved. Another seemingly unrelated goal concerns life underwater. But there too we see that progress has been made through legislation as we eliminate subsidies that contribute to overfishing. I could name other targets and improvements, but you see the pattern. Policy matter. There is also a flip side to this power. Poor policy matter because they reverse progress. Contradictory policy also matter because they paralyze us even when we mean to move ahead. My own parliament, the European Parliament, has taken this lesson to heart, and we are working to ensure that European Union policies are coherent and consistently support development. Even if the 2030 agenda is not yet a complete success, we are advancing, particularly with our policy frameworks and with the consistency of these policies. Learning from these advances, whether they be in the European Union, Oman or Mauritius, is the only way to leave no one behind. The European Union is ready to boost the implementation of the Agenda 2030. We want to lead by example and to build strong partnerships and networks. That is the premise of the EU's Global Gateway Strategy. With this strategy, we are investing in key infrastructure projects around the globe and establishing strong economy partnerships. We are also, and this is what sets out our approach apart, adhering to principles that the EU was founded on, including equality and human dignity, which are clearly linked to sustainable development. A fiber optic submarine cable connecting Northern Africa and Southern Europe significantly advances access to information and communication technology. So do our investments in connectivity between African countries. Our partnership agreements with Namibia and Egypt to produce green hydrogen in those countries should provide affordable and clean energy and access to a growing global market with key economy opportunities. These projects come with commitments, and I know that the European Union has been criticized for the conditions we attach to our partnerships, to our joint projects, to our trade regimes, to our development cooperation. But we believe deeply that our conditions, which are very much aligned with Agenda 2030, are what builds sustainable partnerships. We aim for partnerships that generate value for all partners for years to come and that benefit local communities without harming our planet. At the same time, we know that this alone will not achieve the SDGs. This is why we also support to reform multilateral finance system. More countries must be given a seat at the table, and together we need to expand the forms of support and on offer, especially when it comes to debt. We cannot expect countries to focus on education, biodiversity, or sustainable agriculture when they face crushing, unmanageable debt. These are changes that we can push for at home, in our legislatures, in our parliaments. We can advance the SDGs by steering our country's international policies and actions, as well as our national framework. We owe it to our citizens who elected us and to all inhabitants of our one and only planet. Now I look forward to hearing from you and to learn how we, through our parliaments, can make the most of the next 7 years to complete the 2030 agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Her Excellency.